Welcome to Coastside Poetry. Thanks to those of you who've zoomed in and those who are watching on YouTube. We meet either physically or virtually on the second Tuesday of every month to celebrate spoken poetry. I'm Diane Lee Mumi, and Steve Long and I are your hosts this evening. Our featured poet event is being recorded and streamed live onto YouTube as we speak. So anyone can look at it later. We'll be posting the link on our website, coastsidepoetry.org. This evening, we welcome East Coast poet Jennifer Neusi. Jennifer, or Penofthepeople, a moniker that has stuck since she began writing, is a new poet with an old soul. Sometimes she writes her personal stories of grief, loss, and discovery, while at other times it is another's story that needs to be told. Things, December 2021, her first published work, is a visual poetry collection created to show how anxiety is an insidious vapor that engulfs our senses and suffocates all logic. Anxiety tends to make us replay events over and over, and takes us back to the past while we're facing forward. Jennifer's work has already made an impact within writing communities. She's been featured on The Well, the Dumping Grounds, and many other virtual and physical venues. Recently, she was invited by the Sarasota Contemporary Dance Studio to be their first poet to perform in an in-studio series, an honor that highlights the fluidity of her work. Do visit her at www.penofthepeople.com. It's a gorgeous site. Really, really worth a visit. Please welcome Jennifer.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. It is such an honor and such a pleasure to be here with everyone to share some of my poetry from my new book titled Things. As the beautiful introduction that Diane read, it is a visual poetry collection. So not only does it have certain sections and certain wording, it also has actual shapes and different phrases and words that kind of jump together to create this kind of overall overview of how anxiety can feel while we are navigating through normal themes of life, such as heartbreak, depression, grief, loss, etc. So without further ado, I'm going to jump in. I have a couple of sections or a couple of pieces, I should say, that I think will give everyone a really good sense of what Things is about and hopefully entice you a little further to jump in. So here it goes. When I think I'm alone, I should think about that twice, because alone is never the setting placed on my mind. Anxiety keeps me company. Depression has made a home, taken a portion of the living room while anxiety claimed the shelves on the wall. Negative thoughts stuffed junk drawers and linen closets with regrets and denials that I can't let go. I'm a hoarder of depression, a collector of the anxious, because I can't seem to just find an end to these habits of mine. When will I clean out? Have a garage sale and leave? Throw all the things that can't let me breathe, be in my own place without finding some place. Tense words say what I am. Nothing, useless, worthless, trash. Isn't that the collection of rocks that I can't bear to let go? Weighing me down and taking me under, and below to the basement where I pack up the most. Neglect on the floor, abuse on the edges, piles high of heartbreaks, headaches of regrets. Shattered wishes and what ifs tangle the ceiling. Hand me a trash bag. I'm about to begin. Thank you. And then next one. This is a tale of the fears that men don't feel. A tale of how a brush and a rush can lead to a touch, that can lead to touches, can lead to a snag of the hair, that twist of a wrist, a wince, that can lead a redirection, a disconnection, that can lead to a shove, lead to a push that leads to a hush, to shakes and earthquakes of the body, this body, my body that has somehow morphed into your body, even after the screams, the cries, the bites, the sight of my tears still somehow gave you the green light to have your way with me, my property, now improperly your property, that you staked your claim in me, on me, and now I can't get your 10 minutes of fame off me, in me, around me, it surrounds me, chokes me, holds me, and takes me back to the black, that uncommon, common place where I watch you take and make my body into nobody. Thank you. Next. Your legacy seeps within my skin, devours my insides and makes them heard. Your loud traits, your unseemingly desires to break, to throw, to burn, everything, everyone to the ground. There is never a fault with you, victim in a state comatose, dewy eyes and choked up sobs of imaginary mishaps that led you here. When in truth, this is what you are. That is what you left me to deal with the anger, boiling like volcanic roars in my stomach, left me with the damage of seeing imperfections in the perfect divine of I, left me with guilt for breathing, for seeing, for being. You left me with a pain so deep that an ocean couldn't fill, left me with an ocean with an empty so cold the sun would melt, left me without an escape of the cage, locked up in tensions that never were my blame. This is what you left me now to give, to pass down for another to bear, inheritance. Thank you. How does it feel? They ask. As the hours blend into days, taking you out of every cell is a painful process, with tears and shouts, with scratches and sighs, with the memories lingering in the house like fog. How did it feel? They ask. My prayers met their answer. This soul made just for me, to be all for me, to heal and mend. It was joy. It was perfect. It was flawed and beautiful, and still I loved it so. How will it feel? They ask. Shaken to the core, doubts consuming, peace is written off the script, to be saddened by the seconds in the hour, to be lonely in the crowds filled with laughter, to be empty with hands filled with grief. All I feel is feelings. Thank you. Sometimes my feelings write stories, unspoken things that catch at my throat or slip up and stumble upon themselves when they cannot seem to express what they are, to the outer spaces of these places that they tend to wander into without an intro, just becoming deductions for existing within places that don't accept what they are, intangible emotions that are fighting to make space within the realm of us and we. Sometimes my feelings cause anger. When a shy girl like me with a quick wit and a quick-whipped tongue feels their emotions rise to the light and linger on the teeth they bite, to fight down the words that clamor for a place in my vocab, oh, barely do I get them back to a safe distance, a safe place, that you cannot deduce or contrive what I got for you inside. And with all that willpower at its peak, my body is hot and my belly is fire, to where all I have left is to lash out at the fact that my eloquent and elegant proclamation to make you mine has to sit in the back seat while rage takes a ride on that Pontiac Pride. where my voice booms and shakes you up and rattles your cage just to get a reaction to avoid interactions, the dance of my feelings and emotions colliding to encrypt the message that looms on the waltz between tales and gestures. And there it is, the final curtain, the last hurrah, the goodbye, the it's not you, it's me, but yeah, it's really you. And yeah, you're cool, but just too cool, you know. And there it goes. The story of devotionals dedicated to you, whisked away by the strength in my veins, the voice of anger with a message for you. There it goes. Sometimes my feelings write endings. Thank you. And last one. When saying sorry isn't enough, when apologies don't cover the bills, when hunger strikes the belly, your sorry won't feed me. When the memories flood back of the pain and mistrust, your sorry won't erase from my mind. Keep the sorry, show me the regret. Keep the sorry, show me the fear. Keep the sorry, show me the understanding. Tie together the comprehension of the life you tattered, how you closed my eyes and placed rocks on the lids while the mental pictures play over and over. How my body, tiny and frightened, tight under overgrown hands, feasting on a meal of innocence. How the sweet taste of fresh honey and snow white milk lulled you into a trance of rhythm and movement that wasn't made aware to young eyes. How you went about your day and never had a thought about the pain you caused as you kept coming back to the hive of my nectars over and over and over. So tell me, where was the sorry in your dance of repetition? So now that the empty phrase, I'm sorry, decided to bubble from your mouth after your body won't function, after the sins have caught up, after the fun was less. So now is when I finally get that apology that the old me wanted, that the young me needed to feel, to be free of a weighted guilt of another, to bury the anxiety that creeps to mind today, day after day, of the possibility of the next illicit interaction. So now is when you've come to say, I'm sorry for stealing my piece of peace now and forever, and I can't give it back, but to you, the sorry is enough. You think but a little bit. You think that your sorry has that much power to change the marble of a body that you've chiseled away, but then I came to sand the scars away and create a masterpiece, an artist. I am Michelangelo of aggression, a Picasso of pain. So when you come to feed me a sorry, regardless of the intention, remember, I don't eat. I'm sorry, no more. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening. I'm the type of person, I don't really like to explain or give a spiel after every single poem. I wanted to leave it up to the listener or the reader to decide what they take away from that. I don't want to, unless obviously, of course, there's questions, but I want you to get your first interpretation of what it is or what it is that I'm trying to say, because again, it's all boiling down to how anxiety makes us feel. So to one person, a particular situation might not cause them anxiety, while with another person, being in that same exact situation might be freaking out because of anxiety. So I just kind of wanted to leave it like that. But of course, I'm always open to answer any questions or any comments or anything like that. But yeah, thank you so much for listening.
No, I was hoping you'd go on a little longer.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do you have any more, or are you happy with what you've with what you've read so far? It's an invitation. That's
oh my gosh, what poet will ever say no to reading their own stuff, right?
Really. But also, don't forget to save something for the end after the open mic.
I have a very special one for you guys.
Excellent.
I've never,
Excellent.
ever read this one before, and it's not even in the book. I've never put it anywhere. So I'm very, very excited to share that one. But I can do one more. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, that would be lovely. One more would be lovely.
Okay.
And then we'll unmute, and if folks have questions to ask or things to say, then it'll be just right.
Okay.
Okay.
Love me gently. I have been beaten by gravestones of possibilities, wept tears of grace poised at the edge of the end, structures crumbling upon the fears of tomorrow, for I feel it will never come. Living in the repeats of yesterdays over and over, new days stuck in the past over and over. Can a promise be kept in times like these? Endings floating in the ashen clouds, looking for a place to land, find a home in the homeless. How do I land? Find ground in the times when the earth shakes at the new tragedy of the day. How to swallow the travesty of being in times like these. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. And, let's all unmute and make some noise, and then that's one thing we really miss about in-person readings. You know?
Fantastic,
So,
fantastic. Thank you so much.
yeah. And anyone who would like to ask anything or say anything?
I just want to say thank you to Jennifer mostly to make sure that my audio is working, since obviously my video isn't working, but it was really wonderful, Jennifer. A lot to take in a short amount of time.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Jennifer, how long have you been writing?
I've been writing. I've been a writer my whole life. I think even without even realizing that I was a writer, just in school, I always really enjoyed projects that were anything writing based, or, you know, writing fantasy or any sort of fiction. And then once I started getting into college, that's when I really started jotting down like quotes and little blurbs and things like that. And then I kind of expanded and really got into poetry. And I think at first I was in my head about poetry being this one set thing. And if it didn't look like this, then it couldn't be poetry. And then I learned that poetry is just such an open space, right? You know, it's all up to interpretation. And to me, there is no true wrong way of doing poetry. There's different versions and different variations, but poetry itself is just so fluid. It's just, to me, I don't want to sound corny, but it's like a song in your heart, right? Like it's just this rhythm and this beat, and it's just, you know, it just depends. Like music, sometimes a song will bring out a different emotion out of you than it would, you know, another person. So I just kind of honed in on that. And then, you know, college writing and, you know, that's where most of my work from things comes from most of it is from college and on. And then these last 2 years, I got the third of the book done, and I put it together and I put it out.
Oh, your voice is so strong and so authentic and real. It's just beautiful. So thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
I found your work very musical, and I also wanted to reach out and hug you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I like with my particular work, I love that it has like this like rhythm, and every time I write, I look for that rhythm. So again, it doesn't necessarily have to rhyme or be a certain kind of beat. It's just more of that, like, you know, boom, boom, boom. So that's kind of what I look forward to. And then sometimes it just like comes together. Like after I'm done writing something, like sometimes I'm like, what? I don't even get it. But as I look at my work, like sometimes what I write or what I talk about, it may not be for me. Like it might be that the universe is using me as an instrument for someone going through a similar situation. So, you know, I feel like if it's impactful enough, I put it out there, you know, and if I feel like I'm very intuitive, so if I feel in my gut, it's a good piece, even though I don't fully understand it, I'm like, Jen, put it out there because you never know. Sure.
Thank you.
Well, Jennifer, I think that it's an appropriate theme this evening of a national election that we should be talking about anxiety.
Yeah.
But anyhow, looking back after 76 years, one of the biggest challenges of life, of course, are human relationships between people.
Mhm.
And we've all got our stories. We've all got our complete collection of short stories about those things,
Mhm.
about manipulation, about distrust, about the betrayal of trust, all of that.
Yeah.
And your poems put that together, not only within a particular ethnicity, but also arises above that to talk about what's human about that
Mhm.
situation.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. I think you're saying things that other people can use in their own life when they come to trying to figure out how they're going to appease this person, how they're going to keep this person in their life. Do they want to keep this person in their life?
Yeah.
It's all there, and it's all good. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. I really appreciate it. And that's you know, kind of tying back to, you know, people, how people navigate with other people, right?
Yes.
You know, especially having anxiety. Like I'm Hispanic, so my culture is like, I feel like now we've come a long way, but when I was younger, mental health was pretty much a joke. It was like, just get over it. And you know, a lot of times if I would tell my mom or my family members, like, I'm depressed or I feel some way or I have anxiety, they'll be like, well, we used to walk 3 miles to school. And it's like, you know, I get it. You know, it's not that I'm being ungrateful. It's just that anxiety will not let me see past itself. Does that make sense? Like anxiety gets in insane amount of waves. Like, just to give a perfect example, right? I'm reading from the book and my mind back here, anxiety's like going like crazy, right? It's just like, it's something you really can't escape from.
No.
And that's kind of what I wanted to kind of portray with the book. And a lot of times in the book, you'll see, for example, there's no pages. So there's no way for you to really have an organization per se, but I wanted that to get a feel of like a chaotic organization, you know. And then I have 4 sections, and a lot of times the sections are going in an upward direction, but a lot of times with certain pieces you'll see kind of like a backward slide. And I really wanted to show that that's kind of how anxiety is, right? We take sometimes 1 step forward, but then anxiety pushes us back 3 steps. So I really wanted this piece to really give a voice to people that have anxiety. I wanted people to open the book and say, oh my gosh, this is exactly how anxiety feels. Like, this girl understands what I'm going through. Okay, I matter, because you hear it all the time. Oh, she's just anxious, and anxiety has just turned into like this little, like, everybody's anxious. Like, yeah, but when anxiety takes over your life, where you can't breathe, sometimes you can't sleep, you can't really do anything, then it's not just a passive thing. It's more of like set in stone. And you know, I bet you there's thousands of people that have not even thought of seeing anxiety as a true like mental illness. They're just taking it like, well, I'm just an anxious person. That's who I am. Like, no, that doesn't really define who you are. You know, that's just something that, you know, your mind does. So it doesn't define who you are. So yeah, but thank you for that.
Well, thank you.
Jennifer, on that note, I'm reading a book right now called Invisible Kingdom by Megan O'Rourke, and it's all about autoimmune disease. And anxiety kind of has that same effect. You know, she says at one point, what do you do when you go to the doctor and you tell him that your symptoms are that you got brain fog and you're fatigued? And they just kind of go, well, everybody's fatigued, you know. And anxiety kind of has that same effect, but it's been a very interesting read, and you just made me make a really interesting connection. So I appreciate that.
Of course. Thank you so much for sharing. Absolutely. I feel, especially now with social media, it's turned into this unprecedented amount of anxiety that a lot of people are feeling that normally maybe wouldn't be anxious. You know, like now it's like these on social media, it's just these views of like this perfect, you know, whether it's like a perfect couple or a perfect person, perfect body type, perfect face, like that's not it. No one can be perfect, right? Like, and we only see what someone is posting online versus the reality, which is the painstakingly amount of hours that they took to just take that one picture, right? The amount of hours that they took suffering to, get all this together, or the mess that's behind, that picture. So I a lot of times, like, I feel like, a lot of people that normally wouldn't have had anxiety, I feel like they're starting to, because of that. It's just like, I forget the term, but it's now like with texting, now people are getting like a specific like illness or something like that from texting too much, or like a tendon or carpal tunnel, something like that. So sometimes like things that 20 years ago someone wouldn't be affected by, now I feel like they're getting that too. So yeah.
Jennifer, can I ask you one more thing? I'll be a question pig tonight, but I'm just curious. When you are writing, does that help to decrease the anxiety? Do you find that there's an actual function in sitting to write that goes away, or no?
Not at the moment. I write and I don't edit. So I write what I write and then I leave it alone. Because if I look at it and edit it right then and there, I'm going to nitpick it to death where it will never see the light of day. So I like put it away and then I forget about it. And then I come back to it and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, and it gives me more clarity on a particular situation, or it just kind of makes me realize like, wow, like I was really thinking this when I should have been thinking that, Lots of like the book, the editing, oh man, it took like a year because I had to like forget what I wrote. Like it sounds like weird, but I'm like my own worst critic. Like every time I like write something, I'm like, oh, this is terrible. So now my rule since I kind of thought about publishing the book was, Jen, just write it, let it go, and come back to it. So later on, not right then and there. But thank you for that question. That was a good question.
Oh, thank you again so much, Jennifer. This has been lovely. I love it when when there's a discussion that happens afterward.
Oh yeah, me too. I love questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's how,
Okay.
I feel like my job is done if I opened the discussion or made someone think differently, even if it's one person.
Of course, and that's our function, I think, as poets, to bring things out. And what I write, the way I write it, is not going to be heard by everyone, but hopefully there's an audience out there that resonates with it, and each of us has our own potential audience, because much as I would like to think I am totally unique, I ain't. So there are a lot of people who are going to hear the same things that I.
Well, yes and no. I think everybody, including yourself, I think you're unique in what you write, right? In this whole journey of creating the book, I had to really stop sabotaging myself, because a lot of things I was saying like this the whole time, oh my gosh, I was like, oh, this is so stupid. Like, what am I even doing? Oh, somebody's already written this, or I'm just like the worst critic, until I just said, you know what, Jennifer, stop saying no to yourself. Let someone else tell you they don't like it, right? So that's not my job to say whether it's good or not. That's everybody else's.
Right.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to put it out there, and you never know. Like there's
exactly.
been there's been so much positive feedback about the book, and I'm just like, and people tell me stuff, and I'm like, what? No, right? Like it's such a shock for me. It's still almost a year in, it's still like a shock. But yeah, I feel like every single person, because maybe a writing that you have, you can make someone think differently compared to me or anyone else can, right? So I think as poets, we're very hard on ourselves, and we're very judgmental with ourselves, but with everyone else, we always give them lots of grace. So in this journey, and I hope everyone, we're doing open mic, give grace to yourself, right? Just give grace to the fact that you took pen to paper and you wrote how you felt. And that's hard as is.
Right.
Just to put yourself all out there on paper, and then to come and share it with a group, right?
Yeah,
And then whoever else is gonna see it on, while we're streaming, like that's a huge feat. So definitely don't, but yeah.
Yeah. No, the only reason that I said that was that was basically my impediment of putting myself out there, and
Gotcha.
kind of it was just, and I also tend to exaggerate. Like the queen of hyperbole. Right? I love hyperbole, so when I say things, just kind of keep that in mind. But it was a way of helping me get into a more real space myself, and whatever we need, whatever words we need to kind of trick ourselves into doing our best work, why not? So,
right? Yes.
Yeah.
Me, I'm so mean to myself. I'm like, you don't get to do this, and you don't get, but like with everyone else, I'm like, don't worry.
Yeah.
All the time in the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again so much. We'll stop recording in a moment. Those of you in the Zoom room, please stay online if you'd like to take part in the open mic. Thanks to all our YouTube listeners, and please tune in for our next regular Coastside Poetry event on Tuesday, December 13th, when we'll welcome our very own Sandra Enfang. So thanks so much for joining us at Coastside Poetry and for helping to keep the lamps of poetry burning.